Are you ready?
Live from the Metal Mayhem Studios in Rochester, New York.
We are gold. We are gold.
And heard around the world by metalheads just like you. This is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Heavy metal music.
Your weekly dose of metal music, interviews, album reviews, news, and more. Want to be part of the show? Send us a message through our website, metalmayhemroc.com, or hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Search Metal Mayhem ROC, a proud member of the Pantheon podcast team.
It's getting nice and heavy.
Now, welcome our hosts, John the Vernomatic Verno, and direct from New Jersey, Metal Walt.
Good evening, everybody. As always, we try to get new content out on Thursdays. We've been on vacation the last couple weeks. The first part of the year has really kicked our ass, and we needed a little break. So we took a 2-week vacation, but we're back, and we're back with a killer show for you tonight. We're joined by Doug Aldrich, guitarist of the Dead Daisies. Doug's worked with Whitesnake and Glenn Hughes and various other outfits. Well, the band Dead Daisies, they're back with a brand new single and a brand new album. John Corabi's in the band now, and we're here to talk about everything with Dead Daisies. Doug shares tons and tons of info on the David Coverdale Whitesnake days, his time with Dio, as about a couple weeks ago, it was the observance of the passing of Dio, 14 years. Hard for that to be understandable, but that's true. Talks about his audition with Kiss back in like the 82, 83 era, and just other cool anecdotes. He's a really, really awesome guy. We bust balls throughout it, so that's coming up in just a minute. If you missed some recent episodes, last show we had Don Van Stavern from Riot 5. The band has their new album Mean Streets out, so we're talking about that. Walt and I did a recap of the Big Saxon and Armored Saint weekend, and we had a cool rock and roll detention with Martin Popoff, rock and metal author, as we did a top 20 Rush deep cuts. So that's all up at the website, metalmayhemroc.com. Check it out while you're up there. Download some more episodes. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you're listening to the show. And sign up for the newsletter. It's our way of staying in touch with you, everything we got going on. Okay, so that's what we got tonight. Doug Aldrich, the Dead Daisies, the brand new one, Light 'Em Up. New singles out there, new albums coming out in the fall. So let's get into this. For my co-host, Metal Walt, I'm the Vernomatic. This is Metal Mayhem ROC. Doug, welcome to Metal Mayhem. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. Hey, guys, thanks for having me on.
I'm up here in Rochester, New York. My partner over here goes by Metal Walt. He's down in New Jersey.
Metal Walt and the Vernomatic.
Big fan of your career. You know, we go way back, seen you many times. Walt's the king of concerts. He'll probably dig out shows that you probably don't even remember. We're here today to talk about the new single that just got released, Light 'Em Up.
What do you guys think so far? And I know you're truthful, Walt, so I'm worried about that.
Hey, Doug, pleasure to meet you, man. And again, we're here to talk about Light 'Em Up, the new single in the album. But I think it's important for us to also talk a little bit about that back history of the Dead Daisies. So the origins of the band, like, set the record straight. Was this, because as a fan, you hear all these things. Was this David Lowry? I mean, David Lowry, he's a businessman. He's an aviator. Was this his, like, dream to say, you know what, I play guitar and I want to get the best musicians I can get out there, and I want to make a group and I want to be in the group? Is that kind of how it went down?
I don't know, but that sounds pretty good to do that like that. I mean, if you're going to do it, get the best, right? I don't know. Yeah, and I wasn't there at the very beginning, but I will say this. He's a very passionate guy, and he loves music, and he loves to play guitar, and he can't do it full time because he's got other responsibilities. But when he's with us, he's totally dedicated, and it's inspiring, because you forget about some of these beginning feelings when you're getting ready to go on stage and about stuff like that. You get not jaded, but you just, as time goes on, it kind of becomes the norm and stuff. And he generally wants to talk about all the ins and outs of each song. And I really dig that. And he really does, people want to say, hey man, it's a guy who's He doesn't need to play music. He's got a bunch of money and all that stuff. And he does, but he really does. And it's like anybody else. He really does have his own thing that he does when he plays. I'm not just saying that because I'm in the band. I'm saying that because it's the truth. And I will say it if I'm not in the band. He's really got a thing that is his own. And it's part of the Dead Daisies sound. It's really, I definitely have respect for that, because there are a lot of guys that put up money and do stuff and they're not that good, and he's not a full rounded musician, but he's got a few things that he does that he relies on. And that's what I think is important. He doesn't try to go beyond that. He just does his thing.
It's like, and it is a testament to that too, as well, because it's not like the band's only been out, like they put out an album and they existed and they were in and out in 2 years. It's been a decade, 6 albums, a greatest hits, a live album. I mean, you got another studio album coming out, but I mean, and just the players. I mean, you've been in there a while now, but I mean, the current lineup is amazing. But then you look at the guys that kind of come through. You got Glenn Hughes, Marco Mendoza, Dean Castronova, so many other guys. So talk about how does that go down? How do these line up ins and outs? Is it like an open door policy where guys are just always open door for these guys? Or does Dave say, you know what, I want to switch it up?
No, nobody wants to switch it up. It just comes down to schedules, really. I mean, we all are friends. We enjoy playing music together, and it's a luxury to be able to play with your friends. I mean, and that's thanks to David Lowry that he started this thing. The way that they started it was basically a little bit too free. It was like, we want to have people come and go and all that stuff. And that's great. That's a great idea, but practically it's not as easy as you think, because people, if you let the door wide open all the time, people are coming and going. Who knows who's going to be available for a tour or a record or whatever. And the other thing is that I think as the band's gotten older, the fans, the friends of the band, the fans of the band, they kind of want to see it. They've wanted to see more stability, and we've done that to a certain degree. But especially changing lead singers, that changes the sound. And so we took a left turn with Glenn, and it was a fucking great time, great ride with Glenn. And he is a legend, obviously, we all know that. But we were really also very happy to get John Corabi back. I think overall, John feels really comfortable in this band with this group of musicians, and he feels comfortable, spearheading the thing, which is important. The singer's really got to take some of that responsibility, I think.
Did John seek you guys out? How did he get in? And what's the dynamics with him? Because, like you said, you guys are all old friends. I hate to say you're a brand, but that Daisies is a brand. Talk about Corabi.
Yeah, it's a brand. It's a brand. Basically starting off. It started to become a brand really when Corabi got the gig. That was before I was in the band, and he started to really kind of pull things together. And I think him and Marco and Tishy and Marco and Tishy and David Lowry, they all started, and Richard Fortis. Richard's an amazing, great guitar player. He was a songwriter. That's when they started to kind of become a brand, and then and Dizzy. Then Guns N' Roses got back together, and that's when I got involved. And David wanted to kind of make it more guitar oriented, but John, to answer that first part, John, I contacted John. John had taken a break around the end of 2018. We did the thing with Glenn, and then we were wanting to go and support a kind of a best of album that we did last year. And I talked to John about maybe coming back, and he had other things going on. He was pretty busy, and I didn't really get any answer directly, but eventually our production manager Tommy called John and said, "Hey, we got these dates. I want to see if you want to do them." And John was like, "Yeah, I would love to. Why didn't anybody call me?" It's like, I called you, you fucker. But anyway, he came back, and it it was great, man. John just really, like I say, he's just very comfortable in the situation. He puts on an amazing show, and now you've got a new single featuring Corabi. So
yeah,
we're excited about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, talking before we get to the single, Doug, talking about what John was mentioning, the brand. I mean, the press kit that went out for this single, I've never seen anything so elaborate. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's a masterpiece. This PowerPoint deck of imagery, it's unbelievable. But
I pretty much did all that work myself. No help from anybody else. I did it all.
Did you really? No. Well, congratulations. It's well done. You didn't do it.
I haven't even seen it. I haven't seen it. But I'm glad to hear I'm glad to hear it's substantial. That's good.
No, it's actually I'm a corporate guy, so I make presentations and all that shit for a living. But to see this thing, I said, and a lot of times in our post production, we put images in, and I'm always the guy making these things. And I called John. I said, "Oh, they did it for us. I have nothing to do." But there's a cool part in the deck where they talk about, let's say, the branding that the Dead Daisies are and the social responsibility. Like, you've hooked up with the military, the USO, you've used some of your material for NASCAR, the Mets, the Yankees. I guess it was the Arizona Cardinals. So, talk about that. How does all that stuff go down?
The management has a team of people involved that we're trying to reach out to other avenues to expose the band to other groups of people and other groups of people to the band. And so one of the best ways to do that is through sports. And we've got a great guy, Fred Traub, is in charge of he'll shop the stuff and see. We've had songs that he just took to certain teams or NASCAR or whatever, and they were like, perfect, we want it. And there was one time though when it was NASCAR. It was I forget the owner, Joe Gibbs' team, the Redskins or Commanders, and he loved the song, but he went on YouTube and he saw a video of the band and Corabi's in a strip club with a bunch of chicks getting naked, and I think that was like, no, we can't roll like this. Other than that, it's been a really successful thing. We've teamed up with the Yankees. We've teamed up directly with NASCAR and Fox Sports, and like you said, the Red Tide and the Red Wave in Phoenix, Arizona. So they shopped those songs. And then as far as some of the other things we were doing, a few years back, there was this thing that we didn't know. It came from management. It was called the Metaverse, and we were trying to break into this Metaverse thing. And we put a bunch of effort into that. It didn't really pan out, but I got to credit the team for trying to always, move music in new directions than just going into the classic rock genre. It's good.
Hey, Doug, in the metal world, Andy Sneap seems to be the go-to guy. He does a great job. He's doing all these new ones. Well, the Nashville scene, Marti Frederikson is like the Andy Sneap of that. His resume is, it speaks for itself. But we see that you're doing the June 16th show up in Nashville, and you're playing with our friends over at Rock City Machine Company.
Yeah, that's gonna be a great show, man. Nashville's basically become they've always called it Music City, but even for heavy rock and metal and different stuff. I mean, that's where we were just talking about the Falcon. That's where the Falcon's at, and a whole bunch of people. Marty's there. Marty's been there for years, although Marty's from California, probably, I think. But Nashville's just popping. So, and it still is. It's been popping since my first. I had been there several times, but my first time spending time there was in 2016, and I thought about moving there. Now I kind of wished I would have, because the home prices are skyrocketed. But I got a lot of friends there, and it's a great town. It's going to be a great gig. Well, Robbie lives there, so all his friends there.
Listen, Doug, you got the guitar in your hands, but I will tell you, the Light 'Em Up single, number one, my first reaction when I played it, I went, holy shit, it's a fucking fast killer rock and roll song. Turn it up loud. It sounds like AC/DC. and it's just the catch, the chorus and the pre-chorus, so good. So let's hear a little bit about it. Let's hear it.
Here we go. This is the riff right here. So that's the riff. It's called Light 'Em Up, and it's basically potentially a great song for sports. You know, like I'm imagining the arena when it's like, let's go, we're going to light them up. We're going to light this team up. So that's kind of how that thing came about. And it is very, as some of the other Dead Daisies is very influenced by AC/DC. It's got definitely an AC/DC drive to it. And the riff is actually kind of probably a hybrid of something that Angus would have come up with. But it's just a fun song. John sounds great. Band's rocking. Hope people love it, you know, and I hope that we'll get, I would love to get the Philadelphia Eagles to take that song because that's my team.
Metal Mayhem ROC.
Metal. I'm Metalhead.
Metal Mayhem ROC is the home for metal from the very beginnings.
This is James the Bear from Hellstar. You're listening to Burnomatic.
Dave Overkill from the Cleveland band Destructor. Hey, Dave, how are you?
I'm doing great.
To longtime headliners.
Hey, this is Red Beach from Whitesnake.
Hey, this is Vinny Appice from Dio, Black Sabbath, and Last in Line.
To music of today.
Hi, this is Olaf Wickstrand from Enforcer.
Hi, this is Braun from Mastodon.
You're listening to Metal Mayhem ROC.
With John the Vernomatic Burner.
Plus, we talk with producers and authors to give you behind-the-scenes info.
Hi, this is William Irwin, author of The Meaning of Metallica, Ride the Lyrics.
Greg Renoff, the author of the book Van Halen Rising and the Ted Templeman book, A Platinum Producer's Life in Music.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Metal Mayhem ROC, a proud member of the Pantheon podcast team, giving you more to listen for. Join our community, and always remember to keep it heavy.
On a serious note, do you go out and purposely market like the Panthers or an arena team, say, hey, this will get the crowd going?
Yeah, I don't do it, but that's what our guy Fred, Sportsman Fred, he handles that stuff, and he basically, we did a mix of that song, it was I guess about a month ago, and he took it directly. He had a meeting with the Yankees, he had a meeting with the Panthers and some other people, and he played him the song, and I think the Panthers immediately jumped on it. We didn't want them to put it on TV or anything or whatever because it wasn't the song wasn't ready to come out yet, but they agreed to just play it in the arena as long as they were in the playoffs. So I'm glad to hear they're still in. That's good.
Doug, what about the rest of the album? So the liner notes say it's going to drop in September. Like, what are some of the other tracks? Any ones you want to call attention to a little ahead of time so we could get a little excited about the rest of it?
Well, it's definitely just straight ahead kick-ass rock. It's got some really cool twists and turns. It's got a great ballad on it. Probably one of the best songs that Corabi's ever written. Well, I don't know. It's one of them. Anyway, but it's riff rock, you know, it's a lot of riffs. It's a lot of hooks and stuff like that. And then there's a couple left turns that are really cool there's a very deep cut that ends the album called Save My Soul, which is really, really cool. And there's a track called "I Want to Be Your Bitch," which is you know, some kind of a lyric twist that you know, but it's a catchy track. I think it's going to maybe be a single at some point.
You guys, when you record, because you got this lineup, you got a killer lineup. You got Tommy Clefettos, Michael Devin. And obviously the three guys, you guys. But do you guys? How does the recording and writing go down? Is it all everybody in the room together? You guys swap ideas. Who's doing most of the writing?
This time, I would say that Marty had his fingers in almost probably all the songs, because he was helping John with lyrics. So him and John are doing all the lyrics. Michael Devin helped a little bit with lyrics. And then we all brought songs to the table. Michael Devin brought a song. I brought a song or two. David brought a song. Corabi brought a couple songs. And Marty had a song. So we came up with these ideas that were songs, but they weren't really ready yet. We basically had to just arrange them and work on the riffs and the whatnot, basically. It would be like, say if Corabi had a riff, it would be like, okay, well, show me how it goes. And I would go, what about if we did it like this? And he'd go, yeah. And also, Light 'Em Up is also co-written by Stevie D from Buck Cherry. And Stevie D had the original riff, and he had a song to go with it, but we kind of just took the riff and said, okay, this is Stevie's song. Let's write a song around his riff. And that's what we did, and it turned out really cool. So it's like it's a collective writing thing as well, especially, with Marty and John working on lyrics and then the rest of us working on music with Marty. It works out really good. I think you guys will dig the record. It's fun. It's simple. It's not trying to it's not trying to change anything. It's trying to have people have a good time. And it sounds like a really good driving record as well, like for driving your car. Training.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, killer riffs, drums, great singing. It's great recipe. But 2024, you're touring, and this ensemble that you're doing, the Kiss Cruises, Grass Pop, Download, Poland with orchestras. What's the touring landscape for this year? Because, festival concert season started.
Well, I don't think we're on any festivals. We were a little bit late getting bookings this year. We were busy recording and writing and doing stuff end of last year and this year. But we got dates starting in the beginning of June, I believe, is in New York, is our first show in New York City. People can go to the deaddaisies.com and find the dates. But we've got a select few dates, maybe 10 or 12 dates in the U.S. in June. And then we've got a bunch of UK dates in September. Mm-hmm. And then we have European dates in November, I believe it is. So that's like, Germany and France, Netherlands, stuff like that.
I was referring to the past stuff because it's such a cool, it's just a cool, you have your hand in a lot of different things. Like that Sturgis, you get out in Idaho or whatever that is, that's crazy. And then you go over to Belgium and that Grass Pop. It's just eccentric, different kind of yin and yang shows. That's what I was talking about.
We've done all of the above and everything in between. The Phoenix Cardinals, and they had us come out there and play a pre-game show. That was something different. But yeah, that one in Poland that you mentioned was really cool. We had been in Poland and gotten a great response, and the promoter said, we'd like to do something, bigger with you guys. So we got an orchestra. We got a Polish orchestra, and we headlined this massive festival there with an orchestra, which was my first time with that. And it was really cool. Very exciting to prepare for that, rehearse with the orchestra, European orchestra, and then perform in front of all these people with them. And that was great. And then we've done all the festivals, And probably next year we'll do all the festivals again. We took a couple years off from, like you said, Grass Pop and Sweden Rock and Vakken and all that.
Now, you mentioned a New York show and some dates. Are you touring? Who are you touring with? What kind of venues are you playing?
We're playing clubs and theaters on this first leg. We're starting in New York, and like I say, I know, like, for example, we're playing the Whiskey in LA. That's going to be a fun, intimate night. We're playing a couple of House of Blueses. We're doing this great theater in Vineland, New Jersey. You might be familiar with the Landis Theater. I think we're playing in St. Charles, Illinois at Arcadia. But yeah, if people go to the deaddaisies.com, they will be able to find the dates. I actually should have been more prepared. I don't have them in front of me, but they're on the website, and that's the U.S. where we're starting in the beginning of June.
Well, that's our job. We'll get all of it. People, listeners, they'll be all in the show notes. But you ever make it up to the Rochester? I think you've played the Montage a couple of times.
And we played there. That was one of the last time I was in Rochester, I believe, was with the Kiss show. We did. We supported their. Was it Wounded Warriors tour or something? But
the August. It was at the War Memorial. One of the last shows at the old arena. You know, those tours don't happen anymore. You know, we're a B market. Rochester's a B market, so we get more of the club levels, which is great. We saw Armored Saint last week in a 500 cap room, and they're right there. It's the $40 shows.
To me, there are no B markets. I mean, you got some of the best fans in the world in smaller towns. And I think it's important that I think we should be getting up to Rochester. I want to make a point to bring that up. Like, what we're doing right now is probably a few, because we're only doing a few. We're probably hitting either cities that we know we've got a lot of friends in, or bigger cities. But if we went to Rochester, we'd do good, man. It's a great rock town.
Yeah. Oh, that's why it's the Rock. I was talking B level in terms of venues. You go down to Buffalo, they got the Key Bank, they got the big indoors, and you know what? We've dipped our toe in club level promoting up here, Metal Mayhem ROC, and so who knows? We've brought Raven here, Doc in a couple times.
Nice.
May have to have something to do with the Dead Daisies when maybe in the fall or whenever you put an official tour together. But
that sounds good, man. That would be great. I would love to come there again.
Hey, Doug, the New York City show, because that's close to me. It's at a venue I've never heard of. It's called Rax, a Racket or something like that. Never heard of it.
Oh yeah,
so it'll be interesting.
It's actually, it used to be called something else, something Top Line Theater or something.
Highline Ballroom.
That's it. That's
it's the old Highline. Okay, that's a nice place.
Highline, that's it. Yeah, that's a nice place.
It's in a meatpacking district. It's on 23rd Street. I saw Glenn Hughes there. Really cool little venue.
Yeah.
Then Tom Kiefer I saw there. That's cool, man. Well, hopefully I'm free that night and I can come down. And the other one by the one you mentioned, the Landis Theater. It's a weird. Being a North Jersey guy, that theater's way the fuck down south. It's like on the Delaware border, and they book a shit ton of shows that don't come up here, but I've never been down there. But everybody talks about it being this really freaking cool little theater.
Yeah, they book a lot of they book a lot of local tribute acts because they have a built-in audience down there that loves, and some of these tribute bands now are so good, it's almost like they're better than the original. And so these bands do really good. You're not going to be able to go see Rush anymore, really. And there probably is I know there's a Pink Floyd one that's like off the chain. So yeah, these for locals that live there, that's a great venue to go see rock and roll every weekend, and that's what they do. We're going to go. We've played there probably half dozen times, maybe, and it's always a great time now. Vineland, New Jersey.
You mentioned the Pink Floyd. Was it Brit Floyd? And there's probably many of them.
There is many of them, but I don't know who. I was just referring to. Yeah. I know there's a band. Somebody was telling me about that is. I mean, they'll like headline Red Rocks in Colorado, 4 nights. We're talking like a 7,000 seat venue or whatever it is at Red Rocks. And a tribute band is playing 4 nights sold out. You know what I mean? It's great. And they sound just exactly like what the original Pink Floyd sounded like back in the 70s.
Does that offend you?
No, I'm into it. I would go. If there was something like that near me, I would go see it because, like, for example, if there was one at the Hollywood Bowl that was, and they were doing this big production, I think that would be fun. I would love to see a Pink Floyd tribute that was done really well, like I've heard some of them are. And then even down, smaller scale, I got a couple of buddies that play in a Motley Crue one and a Van Halen one, and they're great. They're really, really good. So I have no problem with it. I mean, I think it's cool there. I was just reading on Instagram, there's a Whitesnake. There's a lot of Whitesnake tribute bands, especially in Europe. And there was this one said, big news story coming out that we're announcing our new drummer for Nightsnake. Night with a K.
Night.
Nightsnake. Yes. And
Doug, Doug, were you part of the Rock Vault thing in Vegas? Have you been part of that?
Yeah, I did. I did that for about a year after I got out of Whites. After I amicably split Whitesnake, I took that gig with a bunch of friends, and John Payne was playing bass and singing. Hugh McDonald, Jay Shellen, Rob McCauley, a bunch of different people. Howard Leese, who was the MD, and it was a fun gig, man. We had a blast. But I did it for about a year, and then I kind of got burned out, and that's when Glenn called me to do some touring with him, and I took that opportunity and that kind of took me out of Vegas.
That. I mean, going back to the tribute bands, I think of like an outfit like the Rock Vault, where, to my liking, like, I'm not a fan of seeing like some other musicians recreate the music. However, if you take topping class guys like yourselves and all the players you just mentioned, and they're playing everybody's favorite songs, these are done from the spirit of the musicians that have been there and lived it. To me, that's a different setting. I'll pay to go see that.
Well, here's the thing too, is like, it's a different thing. I didn't even realize it until I actually got a part of it. In Las Vegas, these things it's a show. It's about a show. It's not really about a band. Although, we were trying to make it a band. We were trying to play like it's a band. It's really a show that people want to take a break from their gambling and whatever and go see a rock and roll show, get jacked up, get some drinks, and then go back to gambling. And so it kind of started to occur to me personally, like, that's not really it was different in the very beginning when I started doing it. And it worked out for me personally because I was going through a divorce and I wanted to take care of my son so his mom could go do her thing. And that was the amicable way to do that split. But eventually I realized that this is a show, and I'm not really so much into show business as I am just a guitar player that loves to play music, and so it started to wear on me a little bit. I had to get on with it.
Doug, your resume, like I said, speaks for itself. Working with David Coverdale, working with Glenn Hughes, and next week will be the 14th year observance of the passing of Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah.
We've heard it time and time again that he was there for the fans, and share some Ronnie James Dio stories.
Well, you're too young to have probably met him, but he would have loved you. He would have loved, he loved the metal press. He loved the passion that people have for metal. And I say this with total respect to Rob Halford and Bruce Dickinson, whoever else. But for me, Ronnie was the one. He brought out the best in me and put me out there. If it wasn't for Ronnie, nobody would have ever. Well, I mean, some people knew about me from some of those other bands, but Ronnie put me out in the world as a guitar player that, he was proud of, and he supported me, and he did that with all his musicians. He did that with Simon Wright and Jimmy Bain, rest in peace, Jimmy. But he was also, and he was super serious and took his career very seriously, like no BS. he put in the effort and the time. He was always the first one to rehearsal and the last one to leave. And he'd do the set twice with no break. You know, he would like maybe a 5-minute break in between sets, but he sang full twice every day at rehearsal, and he loved it. And he was all about, you know, Dio, the band, and a couple of little stories. I remember the day when we were in Birmingham, England. He was supposed to go meet with Tony Iommi to talk about a box set that they did called the Dio Years. And he wasn't very excited about it. He was like, man, I just want to do my band. I don't want to do, you know, Black Sabbath or whatever. And I was like, Ronnie, this is really cool, man. I mean, you're going to go see Tony again? That's awesome. It's been how long? And he was like, you know, 20 years, whatever. And he came back from that meeting and he was super happy and excited. He was like walking on air. He was like, yeah, man, I saw Tone and it was great. We had a bunch of laughs. We had a couple pints. It was great. We're going to do a couple songs, and look what it turned into. And it was just, you know, really cool. Another time, you know, another side of Ronnie was the seriousness of what I was talking about was that red light. And when he would in Heaven and Hell, when it says there's I forget the lyric, but there's a big black shape looking out something. And then the red light would come on and he'd go like this, he'd go like this. And if that red light was not on cue, he was pissed, man. He was so pro. He would finish his show and it would, you know, he would just kick ass the entire time. But you better believe he would go to the lighting director and go, what the fuck was going on with that shit? You know, it's supposed to come on right at this point and blah, blah, blah. So he was very serious about his show. But yeah, God bless him. I'm going to go to pay my respects at the cemetery this week, and I'm going to be a part of the Dio Memorial Concert with a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely miss him. You know, I periodically, if I'm in the gym or something, I'll put on some Rainbow and just pretend I'm 15 again, and it's just, he is so good.
You know, we do have a relationship with Carl Kennedy from the Rods, and he's played with David Rock Feinstein for years as Essential New Yorker. Yeah. And Carl and I have sat down for lunch and just like this talking. We're friends off air, and the stories he has to say. And quickly, I'm going to share this quick little story. The other night, Faster Pussycat was in Rochester for a club show, and my buddy posted on Facebook. He goes, I'm at the Faster Pussycat show, and I go outside to grab a smoke, and some guy comes up to me and starts talking to me about the Dio tattoo he has on his arm. And he goes, how much you know about Dio? Do you know who played keyboards for Dio? He goes, I'm sorry, I don't. He goes, well, it was me. My name's Claude. And Claude is playing with Faster Pussycat.
That's awesome.
And it's just...
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. So...
Yeah, Claude was one of the first guys I met when I moved to LA, and he was always very kind, really, really kind person. And then back in 1990, Ronnie asked me to join in at that time, which I didn't do it, and it would have been a good time to do that, but that's a whole nother story. But I just wasn't prepared, ready to leave my band Lion yet. But Claude got me an audition, and right after Ronnie's like, I want you in the band, you know, and I wasn't ready. I was very immature, but Claude's a good dude, man. And that line for Rainbow in the Dark and that also that keyboard part, Last in Line, you know, I guess that would be all, you know, Claude.
You know, Doug, a lot of times we invite people we interview to come back onto the show for this show segment we call Rock and Roll Detention, where we'll take a deep dive into a subject. And in development, we have a subject circling around Ronnie James Dio. What was the best chapter of Dio? That Rainbow, that solo, or the the early Sabbath? And you could put a case for all of them.
I'm going to go, I know what I'm going to say, but it's hard to turn down Rainbow, because Rainbow, to me, those albums that Ronnie did were just spectacular. And then Rainbow went in a different direction, you know, and it's really great. But with Ronnie, man, oh, that was just so talented, and that music is so strong. And Richie, Cozy, and whoever was playing bass, either was Roger Glover or Don. Anyway, I'm spacing, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Dio band because I think those first two albums were just like perfect for that time. 83, 82, 83, whatever it was, 83, 84,
83,
when those
84.
albums.
And then you could make an argument for Heaven and Hell Mob Rules. That's perfection.
Yeah, you can, and I did. I loved it, man. When Ronnie came out with Heaven and Hell, I guess I was a senior in high school, and that came on, and it was like, okay, this is my number one go-to album now. It was amazing, and then to play that stuff live with him was how cool. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Those times. And in fact, that day I was telling you about when Ronnie went and we were in Birmingham, and he went and met with Tony, and then he came back and he's like, yeah, it was great. We hung out, blah, blah. And he goes, and Tony's going to come to the gig. I'm like, what? He's coming to the gig? Tony Iommi? And he came to the gig, and I got to meet him, and he was very kind, and he scratched his initials in the back of my gold top. And I didn't see him again until Ronnie's funeral. And then he and I were both pallbearers. We both, were carrying the casket. But yeah, man, what can you say? Those Dio with Sabbath, Dio with Rainbow, and then, Dio with Viv and Vinny and Jimmy Bain was just perfect. Really good. So when I got in the band, I wanted to pay respect to Viv and that period. And the record we made, Killing the Dragon, was trying to get back to that kind of sound a little bit.
Doug, I was going to say the Killing the Dragon album and tours were great because those summers you toured with the Scorpions and Deep Purple, and then the next summer you were support for Maiden. I was always curious, why did your tenure only last the one album in a couple years? Because I know you went to Whitesnake, and if you have a few more minutes, I would love to hear a little bit about David Coverdale. But what was that pathway for you?
Well, it just happened all of a sudden. I mean, we did the Killing the Dragon album, and from the minute I went in the studio with him, it was like being a part of the family. It was really amazing, something amazing. And, he was in the room with me the entire time when I was recording guitars, and we wrote a few things to finish out the album. But then we immediately, Wendy's like, we've got on this tour starts in a couple of months. And we're very excited about, even though Ronnie's not an opening act and he's headlined over all those guys in the past, he was happy to go on tour with his buddies. He's friends with all those guys for years. And then we did a couple of headline tours on our own. We went to Europe. We did this and that. We did a DVD. And then we were going to take 2004 off. And that's when, during that period, David said, hey, I'd love for you to come do a 2-month tour with Whitesnake. I'm not going to extend it, but it's like 2 months, and I'd love for you to be the guitar player, or one of them. And so I asked Ronnie, and he goes, yeah, that's fine, 2 months. And the thing with Whitesnake went so well. Me and David were like brothers, whereas me and Ronnie we were brothers, but Ronnie was, really was like a hero, and I just hit it off with David, and he said, hey, we're going to extend a few months. And I was like, okay, cool. And by that time, Ronnie had already signed on to those Iron Maiden dates. So I couldn't do the Iron Maiden dates. And that upset Ronnie greatly. He was really upset with me. And I felt bad about it, but he had originally said we were going to take the year off. So it just kind of got a little sticky, and I ended up staying with Whitesnake and eventually going back to help Ronnie do some touring in 2005 and doing the Holy Diver Live tour, which was recorded on a DVD. And we did that in London. It was turned out to be a really great tour, great time. And I told David, look, Ronnie wants me back. And unless we're going to get in the studio and record, I think, that makes sense for me. And he said, no, I don't want to lose you. You and I are going to do some writing and it took us a couple of years, a year or so, to kind of get our bearings together. But once David and I got on a roll, we recorded and we wrote and recorded Good to Be Bad. And I was really proud of it. It was a really strong album for me. I really felt good about it.
Those are good ones. I saw you down at the M3, I think. I don't know if you were at that one, but in Maryland. But those are strong albums. That was like a return to form of more like even a little bit more of the bluesier Whitesnake, not the poppy Whitesnake. I very much appreciated those albums and tours.
Thanks, man. Well, that was kind of the goal for me personally. David didn't really talk about it too much, but he did like that I was influenced by I knew about the original Whitesnake, the bluesier side, like you said, with Bernie Marsden and stuff. And so when I was writing, I was thinking about, trying to get some of that bluesier stuff in there. And that's what we did. And so he still would, do his it still had a definite flavor of the hair metal vibe, but it was also bluesy hair metal.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Doug, we're going to wrap this up. 2 questions. How is David Coverdale doing? Have you spoken to him lately? Because it's no secret he's been struggling the last couple of years, and he's trying to give it one last go around. 2, share a little bit about the Kiss audition.
Oh, okay. Well, first David. So David's good, and David he can still sing. I know he can. He's one of the all-time greats, and he'll never lose that voice. The only thing is it's a stamina thing. I mean, David is used to running around doing, running around hitting notes that only dogs can hear, which we all know is not necessary, but that's what he wants to do, So that's it's very difficult to do that when you're 70 or however old he is. I forgot. Yeah. But he's got that God-given tone. I mean, when I was with him, he would once in a while have a little patch where he was sick or something. But man, he'd come in the morning and start singing on a record, and man, it was just like, that's the shit, man. That's the sound. It's the same thing with Ronnie. That sound was always there. So yeah, I think David's doing good. I don't know what his plans are. We talked once or twice on the phone, but we usually talk via text.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Kiss audition was a blessing. I mean, it was like, I was basically just a kid, and it really, by going there and seeing what an audition was like, I had never heard of such a thing, really. And Kiss, it was bizarre because, at that time, nobody had seen their faces. So I felt guilty for seeing them, looking them in the eye. It was kind of weird. But in the end, at the end of the day, it really was an inspirational thing for me because they were very kind to me and supportive of my playing. I think they were more like, hey, this is a kid, that's a big thing when you're working with other people and touring. You got to feel comfortable together. You don't want to take somebody that's going to be, they're feeling a little awkward and you're feeling awkward. So I had not been around the world at all, really. So I think they ended up making the right choice getting Vinnie Vincent, but it inspired me to immediately be better.
How old were you at that audition? And were you a Kiss fan growing up?
18 or 19, and I was not your typical Kiss fan. I did know about Kiss and I liked them. I had never seen them in concert. Actually, I'd never seen Kiss in concert until like 2004 or something like that. I saw them play with Aerosmith. But I liked them. I wouldn't call myself the biggest fan just because, and this is going to sound silly, but my younger sister was their fan, and she was all over Kiss. So it was like I had to find my own identity, you know. So Zeppelin was my go-to, but I did for sure go and sneak in her room lots of times and put the headphones on and listen to Kiss Alive 1, and later she got Kiss Alive 2, and I put the headphones on, and when we were kids, it would almost be like you were in it was like you were there.
Yeah.
You would just crank it up, and it was pretty cool, you know? So, yeah.
That's what got me. I'm 56 years old, and I was 10 years old in 1977. I was that Kiss demo, but hey, Doug, thanks for the ultimate walk down heavy metal memory lane. You know, we could go all day, but again, the new single, Light 'Em Up, coming out, Dead Daisies, September. Are we looking at a release?
That I have not been told. You actually, a lot of times with these things, I find out from you guys what's actually going on.
Okay,
so that's
I can email you the press package, Doug.
Yeah,
but if it's in the press package, well, I'm going to say that's probably good to go then. So let's say it's September for the album. We've got this single coming out it's coming out today, and then we'll have another single coming out probably in a month. I'll bet you there'll be another song.
Awesome.
So, hey, thank you guys so much, man. I really appreciate it. And when you do speak to the Falcon, give him my love, because he's one of the greats, and he's a Lord. Tell him I said he's a Lord.
We will.
Okay.
Thanks, Doug. Have a great summer.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
You too. See you next time. Okay. Bye.
All right. Cheers.
Well, there you have Doug Aldrich, the Dead Daisies. Again, Light 'Em Up, coming out, the single, the album. Hey, listen, if you like what we're doing here, do us a favor. Leave a review. Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, wherever you pick up the pod, and get up to the website, Metal Mayhem ROC Live, or metalmayhemroc.com. All right, Metal Walt, it was great hanging out with you today. You enjoyed Doug? Think he's a good guy?
He's a great guy. We could have been on for hours, man. I mean, it was Dead Daisies, Deep Purple, Whitesnake, Dio, growing up, a Kiss audition, guitar playing. Just great.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be 25 minutes, and we got an hour plus.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man.
So, all right. For my co-host, Metal Walt, I'm the Vernomatic, and we are Metal Mayhem ROC.
Metal for life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.